cut a radius in a finished beam, and then have the radius side re-stained and cut so I can assemble it next week. All right, amidst my timber work, came across an interesting little detail. The front of this house has a little shed roof over the front entry, and there is no beam to support that roof. So, talked to the builder about that, and one was ordered, but the one ordered was ordered to match everything else, which is a really big chunky beam, which cuts way down into headroom for that squat little entry. So, the solution I've come up with, that everyone seems to be happy with, is that I put a radius in that beam. So, that's the job now. Cut a radius in a finished beam, and then have the radius side re-stained and cut so I can assemble it next week. All right, so here's the location here. There'll be a little deck here and a little shed roof over top. So what I've done is made a template out of plywood to get my radius all sorted out. I've ended the radius about 2.5, 3 inches inside my post, so I've got some forgiveness here. I'm gonna actually cut the radius with a chainsaw, and then I'll clean it up with a belt sander and a planer, and then router my edges to get the chamfer back, and then this will go up next week to finish off the front entry of the house. Okay, now I've got that radius marked out on here. I've squared a line down. These are kind of reference points because I'm gonna stay about 1/4 inch away with the chainsaw. The one spot I'm concerned about any potential blowout or tear out with the chainsaw is when I finish my cut at this end. So I have bolted a block out here so I can cut through that. That should support the material while I make that cut. And I'm gonna be cleaning this stuff up afterwards with a planer and a belt sander, and then chamfering the edge with a router. Anyone who's interested, Husqvarna 365, it's a workhorse badass saw, this thing. Yeah, that went great. I'll cross sand it with some heavy coarse paper here on the belt sander to clean that all up, and then chamfer the edge, and overall, yeah, really, really good. So this radius is large enough that just a flat bevel, flat shoe planer, when I max out the blade, is actually got enough to carve off a bunch of this, the rough stuff, so I can get it down close, and then belt sand to finish it off. All right, I've got this side down to my line. I'm not gonna carry on this way because then I'm going up into the grain. I could have some tear out. I'm gonna come around now and work my way down from that side down this way so that I go cut the grain versus chipping it up. So I went across the grain with 80, it's actually 60, I think, 50 grit, to knock all the rough stuff down because it comes off really quick and I can keep it nice and take up more material going across the grain. I'm gonna do a final pass now with the grain to give it a nice finish. So we're gonna have scratch marks across the grain for when they re-stay in this bottom, and then it'll all blend in nice. Okay, gonna put a little 45-degree chamfer on these two edges here now, and then that's ready for staining. I'm intentionally gonna go the wrong way, again, to avoid any potential tear out. So I'm gonna go, the cutter's going this way, so I actually go with it. It's gonna wanna run away on me, so I'll just hold it back, but that way I'm gonna guarantee that nothing chips out as I do this cut. Okay, there it is. Radius beam. That took about an hour, and that turned out pretty darn good. Really happy with that. And as far as where my radius started and finished, so from the shoulder of my cut here, we've got 3 inches. This end, I've got 3 1/16, 3 1/8. So pretty darn good. Really happy with that. Turned out good. No big blowout on either side, so now that can be stained and matched up, and then I get to put that up next week.
Kind of works.
All right, time to build a little shed roof over this beam. It's super basic. It's a 212 pitch, and there's a 1-foot overhang all the way around. So I've mocked this up and drawn it on a sheet of plywood to show all of the parts and dimensions, and I've also written out the math, so we'll go over that really quick. So come on over here for a minute. You can first look at the picture that I've drawn on the sheet. So this line back here represents my exterior wall, and then all the way back over here, I've got this, which represents my 2x4 subfascia right here, and then this right here is my beam. So what I've got is 4 feet from the face of the beam to the wall, and I've got a 1-foot overhang, so a total of 5 feet or 60 inches. So I come back here onto my board. I have got 60 inches of total span from the face of the sheathing to the outside of my subfascia. I'm going to subtract 3 inches for the ledger on the wall and the subfascia. That takes out 3 inches of material, giving me a total run of 57 inches. A 212 pitch equals, so if you actually go 2 divided by 12, you get 0.166666 forever, which means for every inch of travel on a 212 pitch, you go up or down 0.16666 of an inch. So this is your multiplier. So then I go 57 inches, my total run, times 0.1666 equals 9.5. So that means over 57 inches of run, I have 9.5 inches of rise. So then I put that into my Pythagoras theorem here. So I've got A, B, and C. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And then you square root that, and that gives me a total diagonal distance of 57.786, which is just over 57 3/4. So that's the math that represents this top chord. And I've mocked it up on here with the beam shown, and so I can calculate my bird's mouth and get that set up so that the finished soffit will terminate at the corner of the beam, and this will all be a nice vaulted soffit underneath. So that's the math behind what I'm about to cut.
Scott. It was a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure working with you, bud.
Thanks
so
a lot.
much. Yeah,
You bet.
awesome.
Okay, everybody, with the completion of this little porch entry, timber work, and fascia, that marks the end of this project in its entirety. So the addition here, the carriage house there, it's been a super project. I was able to kind of showcase and go through a variety of all kinds of different building methods, building on slabs, on floors, hand-framed roof, trusses, timber work, some arch stuff. Yeah, really great project. So it is all done, and thanks for coming along for the journey. It's been a pleasure.